Back in 2018, I healed 3 pelvic organ prolapses, and I don't just mean I became asymptomatic or I managed them. I fully reversed 3 prolapses, and I did it via dealing with my patterns of trauma and teaching myself to feel safe in my body and on planet Earth. And if you want to know how I did it, you're going to want to stay tuned and hear a really cool story. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and tap that notifications bell to let you know every single time I post a new video about how to heal your prolapses naturally. Hey, I'm Jennie, and together with my husband Duncan, we help women heal prolapses naturally all over the world. Even women who are decades postpartum, decades post-menopause, and even women who have had hysterectomies. So I have been working in the mind-body field as a coach and a holistic health practitioner since 2007. So I was completely and utterly floored, broken, devastated, heartbroken when I discovered that I had 3 prolapses in 2018 after the birth of our second child. So I was 42 at the time, and I went into a complete and utter crisis because I've been teaching law of attraction, quantum physics, how to heal via your emotions, and have helped many people heal all kinds of things in their body. So, when I got these prolapses, I thought, whoa, I'm an imposter. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. How could I have created this in my body? And when I say created, by the way, none of us do this knowingly, right? So our emotions do create our physical reality, but we don't do it on purpose. I'm not saying it's our fault and that we should have any self-blame of any kind. But I know how the universe works. I know that tension in the mind creates tension in the body. So I knew that I somehow manifested this. So I sat down and I really had to have a long think about this. I had to figure out what kind of emotions and patterns I was giving out to the world to create this in my body. Now, I'd experienced inappropriate touching, trauma, and all kinds of sexual abuse as a child. But I'd worked through that. I'd been to therapy. I gave lectures on it. I even helped people with this kind of trauma. So I couldn't figure out, well, why is this playing out again? But I knew there had to be a link because, of course, it had manifested in the most vulnerable part of my body. So it took me some time to figure out that despite dealing with the trauma itself, I was unaware of emotional patterns I had that were rife all throughout my life. And I've coined this the vulnerability to defensiveness cycle. And that's because if you look at the emotional scale on the screen right now, a prolapse is manifested from a place of feeling insecure, fearful, and vulnerable. And when you feel insecure, fearful, and vulnerable, you're on the defense, right? You're waiting for the next threat, something to happen. You're often, I've coined the term catastrophic fantasizing. You're often worrying into the future, imagining all these crazy things that could happen, and often they don't even happen. So this pattern was playing out in my life in all kinds of ways. And it's actually quite funny to me now that I just didn't notice. I was so used to these patterns and I just thought every woman felt this way. So we used to live in the Alps and we had these huge glass-fronted windows that looked out onto the Mont Blanc. It was gorgeous. But as soon as the sun started to set, as soon as dusk arrived and it got a little bit darker, I would be bringing down the blinds and the shutters. I have blinds and shutters in Europe. And I would be locking up the house. I would start to feel vulnerable. And my husband, Duncan, would say to me, can we not just, enjoy the sunset? But I was locking the house down because I felt unsafe in my body and on planet Earth. I was terrified that my kids would be taken. I had this huge fear that somebody would take my kids. And we were in a French market one day and this beautiful woman, this lovely, kind woman we used to speak to every single week, said to me, I even manifested this from her. She said to me, Jennie, you need to be careful with a beautiful blonde-eyed daughter like that. People take kids. And I felt horror, fear, shame in myself. And I thought, oh my goodness, if I'm not careful, I might manifest this. I've really got something going on here. And I started to realize the level of anxiety I was living under, despite being a coach. I'd helped lots of other people and I had healed lots of things in my own body, but this pattern was wild. I was always afraid the money would run out, even when things were great, because we've always run our own business. I constantly cared what people thought about me. I lived my entire life through other people's opinions of me. I got my worthiness from their acceptance and their opinions of me and if they liked me. I had huge amounts of fear that my husband was cheating on me. He would never do that. He is the nicest, most loyal and kind man on planet Earth, but because I felt insecure, I was projecting all kinds of things onto me. And friends of mine were saying, Jennie, that man would never do that. This is a bit of a compulsion you've got going on here. And when I look back, this vulnerability to defensiveness cycle, this not feeling safe in my body, struggling with intimacy, all kinds of manifestations of this fear, it was playing out everywhere. Now, of course, as a coach, that was a hard thing to admit. I really had, a humbling moment where I had to admit to myself that I had this pattern going on. But I knew that if I could heal that pattern, I would heal my prolapses. And I was correct, my friends. I was correct. So it took me 9 months of working on these patterns, using all different kinds of techniques, which I will share on this channel. And I moved myself slowly, very slowly. The journey was like this. It was not like this. It was undulating. It was really challenging at times, but I moved myself using various processes from this feeling of feeling unsafe to a feeling of safety. And once I got to that feeling of safety, 50% of the time, my body fully healed. And I mean fully healed. No sign of prolapses whatsoever. And bear in mind, I had some pretty severe prolapses. I had a grade 3 rectocele, 2 to 3. I had a urogynecologist, wasn't quite sure, but 2 to 3 cystocele and a mild uterine prolapse and a huge diastasis recti, so an ab separation. And they all fully healed. All organs back in their rightful place. All of my pelvic floor tension and hypertonicity gone. My pelvis aligned itself and stayed in alignment for the first time in 20 years. I was one of those women that used to go to the chiropractor almost every week because something was always out. My pelvis was always out. I constantly had sacroiliac joint pain. Sorry for the jargon, just right down at the tailbone. I constantly had shoulder pain, neck pain. The list goes on. It all healed itself. Now, my husband Duncan is what I like to call a fascial ninja. So he trained in fascia with an amazing French osteopath. He's also trained in hyperpressives. If you know what they are, they're a low pressure breathing technique, and they are amazing to assist prolapse healing and reversal. And my husband is also a corrective exercise specialist and a personal trainer. So because I love to lift, he also created me a prolapse friendly workout so I could get my rocks off, and walk and move and work out a little bit safely. So people often ask me, why did you do physical work if you knew that this was all emotional, vibrational root? And it's because A, I love to work out. I'm a physical being. I love to move my body. Before I got the prolapses, I used to enjoy CrossFit, lifting, running, all those kinds of cool things. So one of the reasons I was so heartbroken and so devastated and felt so incapacitated was because I couldn't move my body the way I wanted to. However, it was interesting to see that I used exercise back then as a way to manage my emotions. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's great, right? It's super helpful. If it helps you, do it. But I realized I was in a little bit of a sort of gilded golden cage, because if I couldn't exercise looking back, I had high anxiety. I used to get so stressed about being able to work out, and my whole life was really planned around it. And as I'm sure if you have kids, once kids come along, you can't have these lengthy 2-hour morning routines anymore where you do everything for yourself. You work out, you meditate, and da-dun, right? It doesn't work out like that especially with young children. And we also homeschool. So, figuring out these strategies to feel safe and secure and get rid of anxiety and feel confident again, mind, body, soul, without exercise was truly life-changing. And then bring the exercise back in from a place of feeling confident rather than insecure, then that is awesome, friends. So yes, people ask, why did you bring in the exercise things if you knew it was all emotional? And the answer is because it made it easier. Every single time I did a hyperpressive, and if you don't know what they are, we'll be releasing videos on hyperpressive techniques. Every time I did a hyperpressive technique and I felt my organs lift, I felt hopeful. I believed they would help me. I believed they would work. They have been studied. They're a great technique. And also doing all of the fascial work that Duncan taught me was so beneficial. It made me feel like I was moving forward. So often we will manifest physical avenues to change our emotions and our beliefs. So the short answer is it's extremely helpful, and it's a pathway to assist your beliefs. Now, once I healed, being the crazy individual I am, I said to Duncan, you know what? I really, really want to celebrate this healing with a competition. I want to do something so cool to show the world that when you've healed from the inside out with your emotions, with your consciousness, using quantum physics, using the energy that creates worlds that runs through every single cell in our body and has a blueprint for well-being, I really want to show the world that when you've healed that way, you are never vulnerable ever again. So I entered the Strong Women competition. I think I maybe came 5th out of about 20 people or something like that. But I was lifting an 80 kilo Atlas stone over the bar, 25 times. I was carrying a huge frame, farmers carries for long distance. And the event went on for hours and hours and hours. And I did not have a single relapse with my pelvic floor. So I didn't have, any bulges coming back out. None of the organs moved around. I didn't pee my pants. I didn't have leakage. I didn't create any bulges or digestive issues with the rectocele, nothing. And today I'm going to be 49 this year actually. And today I can work out 4 to 5 times a week. I do CrossFit, I run, I lift, I do all kinds of things. Skip, jump rope. So yeah, once you have healed the right way from the inside out, you will never be vulnerable. You can go on and do anything you like. You can sail off into the sunset and live your best life, because when you feel confident, friends, there are so many things you can do. And one of the things I love most in our online program is watching women who heal their prolapses, get to this place of feeling super confident and calm and relaxed. And then I watch them creating brand new businesses that they maybe wouldn't have had the confidence to do before, forming new friendships, being out in the world. Now they no longer have social anxiety, confidently parenting their kids without worrying about what anybody else is thinking, doing what feels right to them, starting homeschooling because they're no longer worried about the judgment of others, all kinds of things. And it's so beautiful to witness these women flourishing. So the final point in all of this, and I'm sorry if this is hard to hear, because when my bits were at the entrance, right, this was not something I really wanted to hear or could hear either, right? When I was told you'll never lift again, your only way forward is surgery. Nothing will help this, the life you once knew is over. That's what I was told, So if I had been told what I'm about to say right now, I maybe couldn't have heard this, but I want to share it with you just in case you can hear it. In the end, getting a prolapse or prolapses turns out to be an opportunity. Because if you're anything like me, you're a little bit A-typed. It's a good thing. You're a strong focuser. You've probably your whole life figure things out with strategy and logic, and you've created solutions. If you've had a problem, you've been really amazing at locking it down and figuring it out. And then you get a prolapse, and the little control freak in you, I know, I get it, right? wants to do all the things, and all the things do not work when it comes to this situation, right? You can't exercise your way out of it. You can't diet your way out of it. You can't, no matter how many incredible professionals you see, and they are wonderful and they help relieve symptoms, you do not heal that way, right? So this horrible situation, this attention-grabbing reality really humbles you. One of our members said it literally brought her to her knees. I agree. It brings you to your knees and you have nothing left but your mind, body, and your consciousness. That's all you have left. Duncan and I often joke, we say, if we wandered around on the streets and said to people, hey, come and join our program and learn how to live your best life and learn all about consciousness and how the universe really works and the mind-body connection, people would be like, yeah, okay, haven't really got time and whatever. But the second you have a prolapse, you're motivated, right? You are willing to do what you maybe wouldn't have done before to heal this and live your best life. I was almost going to say, get your life back, but no, you can go one above that. You can live your best life and live the version of you have always wanted to be. So I promise you, this is a gift in the end. But yes, there's a bit of work and a bit of focus to go through to heal and to truly become a new version of you. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. I promise you, despite being a coach for almost 20 years, I was one of the most negative people on planet Earth. And I did a lot of fearful thinking, a lot of catastrophic fantasizing. I am you, I get you. So if you want to find out more about how I healed my prolapses and our Unshakeable You blueprint, join me on my free training by clicking the link in the description and grabbing your spot, or you can tap free training into the comments section and I will send you the link. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my next video. See you next time.